Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday talk. I have my friend Daniel joining us today. But before we get started here and before I have Daniel introduce himself, I want to cover some housekeeping items here. Um, for our live listeners, we love audience participation. So there is a Q&A button that you can click on. It's most likely on the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you don't see it, there's a button that says more. It's a circle with three dots. Click on either the Q&A button, or if you don't see it, that more button, then you'll see the Q&A button. But click on that, and then you can type in a question. Okay, so as Daniel and I are visiting over the course of the next 30 minutes about performance groups, if you have a question, type it in, and I will make sure that I read it to Daniel. And Daniel, you don't need to watch the Q&A box. I will keep an eye on it, and I'll ask questions as they come in. Okay? All right. So, Daniel, if you would please introduce yourself to our listeners. So, your name, what you do here at Right at Home, and what we are talking about today.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. My name is Daniel Bourne. I am one of the senior business performance coaches here at Right at Home. I've been here actually coming up on 8 years, I think a week or two, so super exciting. What my position is from a performance coaching standpoint, our goal is to help owners build big, great, profitable businesses. And from the performance group standpoint, I also manage and run the performance group program for Right at Home. I also lead 5 of the groups. We have a total of 15 owner groups in the system. So that is what I do.
Awesome. Okay. So, the audience today are people who are interested in potentially joining the Right at Home system. So, keep that in mind as you and I are visiting that. The audience here are people that are contemplating joining this amazing system and becoming Right at Home franchise owners. So where I want to start is, in your opinion, what is the benefit of being part of the number one? I know because there's lots of benefits. So what is the number one benefit you see for a franchise owner being part of a performance group?
Yeah, so the number one benefit is just access to other owners' ideas, their staff, everything that comes along with it. So our groups are comprised of roughly 8 to 10 members per group from all over the country. And so really what you're getting by being in a performance group is access to all of that. So we've had some of our newer owners join some more tenured groups. And so instead of, just hearing from corporate or, somebody else, here's what you should do, here's, what you can try, or here's how you solve this problem. They're getting people with up to 20 years of experience in this business and how they've solved the problems that they've already come across.
Okay.
That's the number one thing.
Okay. Thank you for that. And so, as a brand new franchise owner, when is the best time to join a performance group?
Well, our requirements for joining a performance group are pretty simple. It's 2 things. So 1 year in business and completion of our third-party financial training program called Profit Mastery. It's a self-paced program that you can start while you're still within our Right Start program, or you can start it after you graduate from our Right Start program. But those are the main 2 things. The only other real consideration is our groups meet 4 times a year, so once a quarter. 2 of those quarters are actually in person for typically a day and a half to 2 days. So you have to be able to be away from your business for, those 2-day meetings plus, a travel day on either end of it. So that would be the only other consideration.
Okay. So why does a brand new franchise owner have to wait an entire year before they can join a performance group?
Yeah, it's really just so you have a good grasp on the business and you're able to, really provide, because it's not really just about getting value from the other owners in your group, in the group. It's about providing them value. So we've really just established that year protocol just so somebody can have enough time to build out their office staff so they can travel, and be away from the office and not have to get up during the meeting, 5 or 6 times answering a phone, putting out a fire, different things like that. But then also just to be able to fully understand the business and have a good footing.
Okay. So before you attend a performance group, what are the to-dos? So if I'm a member of a performance group and I'm getting ready to go visit destination A for my performance group, what kind of homework do I have to do in advance of that performance group meeting?
Each group's a little bit different in what they're doing. It also depends on what else they're meeting about in the meeting. So they'll sometimes pick specific topics that we're going to talk about. So that may beforehand, but the core things that every group member is gonna have to do is we have a presentation that you're going to give to your other members about pretty much just a status update of how your business has gone that quarter, or at the beginning of the year, it's a recap of the prior year. So there's 4 or 5 pretty basic slides with some general KPIs on it.
Yep.
You'll want to identify what we call burning issues, so a problem that you're having in the business that you would like feedback from the group on how to help solve. And then you'll want to come up with a bright idea. So every meeting we share bright ideas. And so what's one good thing that's working really well in your office that you want to share to the group that you think others could benefit from? So those would be the main things that you have to prepare for.
Okay. So keep that in mind. That's everybody in the whole group does those things. So when you join a performance group, you sign an NDA, a confidentiality agreement saying, hey, I'm about ready to receive financial information for some of my fellow franchisees here, and I'm not going to share that information with anyone else. So you keep it confidential within that group. So you send, and another reason why we want you to be in business for an entire year is because when you go to you're going to be sending financial information about your business to the fellow franchisees that are in your performance group. And they want to be able to see a snapshot of, operation financially, how your business is doing. So it's key to have an entire year's worth of business under your belt so that you have that historical data and information to bring to the table, because you get so much wonderful feedback from your fellow franchise owners in that group. They're going to help you go home and make some changes in your business for the better. And then you report out the next performance group meeting that you go to. So ability, Daniel. So, being part of a performance group is not only getting, wonderful feedback from your fellow franchise owners that are in that group, but what happens after the meeting ends and you go home.
Yeah, so at the end of every meeting, we kind of go around the table, and based off of, whoever's leading from corporate, whoever's leading the group usually kind of compiles a list of what they've heard just to help people get started. But they commit to, 5, 6 different that they're committing to the group that they're going to accomplish prior to the next meeting for that quarter. And the accountability piece is huge with the performance groups. And if you're not holding your end of the bargain, you may be asked to leave the performance group because everybody's investing their time, their money, their effort into each other. And so they want to make sure that they're seeing growth, they're seeing the action items completed, and that everybody's taking it seriously, because they're in this to grow their business, make their business better. And it really it is a huge, huge part of the performance group. So every meeting, whether it's a virtual or an in-person, we're assigning out, or they're assigning out their own action items and commitments for the next meeting.
Yes. Okay. So can you give some without naming any names? Can you give can you provide some examples of maybe some tough conversations that are had during these performance groups? I've attended a lot of performance groups just as to be there to listen and learn. performance groups that you have facilitated, which are wonderful. But can you give our audience today just an example of what it's really like sitting in a room at a performance group where a franchisee reports out on, here's how my business is going, and then what franchisees say in response?
Yeah. So one of the tough conversations, usually it's around the staff. So they're having an issue getting their staff to perform at the level that they want them to perform or that they should be performing at. And so they'll ask the group for various ideas. What can I do? How can I do it? And, this is an example that happened quite a while ago, but, one owner kept bringing up the same staff member. And finally, somebody in the group just said, look, the last 3 meetings, you've had the same issue and the same, we've given you potential solutions. You have not acted on that. Don't come back next meeting unless you've acted on it. And sure enough, they wanted to make sure they came back. And so they did what they needed to do with that situation and came back and thanks the group for that tough conversation because their world was just made much better by solving that issue. Some of the other things, especially like we just had our first round, most people do the first quarter, usually like a February timeframe, early March for recap of the prior year, but then also strategy and planning for this upcoming year. And they've probably already done some of that work themselves, but then they, talk through and present, here's what I'm looking at doing this year. And as far as, oh, your goal is way too lofty, or, we've seen you execute at this level and you're sandbagging it and you need to up your goal.
Mhm.
And so that's a
Great.
lot of what we're seeing at the first quarter meetings
Okay.
is that.
Awesome. Okay. So, another quick question for you that just came to mind. I've been a franchise owner for a year. I tell my coach, I want to be part of a performance group and then I'm in. Is it as easy as that, or how does that process work?
Not quite that easy, but kind of close. We really try to make sure that you're committed to it. So we'll kind of go over just, okay, can you travel this much? Can you take this time away from the business? So are you willing to commit to those pieces? Are you willing to, as you had said earlier, we talk a lot about financials because one of the big focuses is increasing owner's discretionary profit. That's something we measure. That's something we look at and talk about. So are you willing to share your financials? Are you willing to share all of those numbers? And if all of those are yes, then you fill out just a quick little profile about you, a little bit about your background, and then we just present you out to the groups that are looking for members. Typically, there's a couple, we'll call them interviews. Really, you're just talking to a couple of the different members, just making sure these are people that you can trust with your financial information, with learning ideas and different things like that about your business. And they're also making sure that they can trust you. And so that's kind of how the matching, I mean, we've had people who, they met somebody at Residence Week, when they first come into the system and they just connected. And 2 years down the road, one of them joined a performance group. The other one got convinced to join. And, so it really wasn't a formal process in some of those instances, but we try to be as flexible just to make sure everybody gets into the right group for them.
Okay. So a question came in while you were answering that last question. It says, and I'm going to take the liberty of adding on to this question that I didn't ask, but I'm going to add it anyway. It says, how often are performance groups reviewed or updated? So not only reviewed or updated, but if I've been a franchise owner for a year and I say I want to be part of a performance group, am I going to get an answer that says, there aren't any performance groups, any, vacancies for you to join a performance group. So are there, third uh, part to this question, are there ever new performance groups that are created?
Yes. So as far as updating from a requirement standpoint, no, we haven't updated that in quite some time. With say a resale opportunity where it's an existing business that's being purchased, we may, be a little flexible on that 1 year. It just depends on that
Sure.
person's background, what that business looks like, those types of things. As far as just how we do things within performance groups, that's ever evolving. We're always trying to make it better, come up with new things that we can do with the groups that will benefit them, all of those types of things. And to your third question, yes, every once in a while we will start up a new group. Semi recently, about a year and a half ago, we had enough newer owners that have gone through the right start process. They were about a year and a half to 2 years in, and a handful of them had just kind of connected with each other, talked about it, and we found a few others that would form together, and we created a new group.
Okay.
So every once in a while we'll start a new one, but yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So, as a new franchise owner, do I have the same, because when you first start out, you've got a right start manager, right? A right start coach. And then eventually, as a new owner, once you reach a certain point, then you transition to your more full-time coach. Is my full-time coach also going to be my performance group facilitator? Are they one and the same, or are they sometimes different?
Uh, it's possible that your coach could also be the person in charge of your performance group, but that's not guaranteed. So the way our structure works is the coach that's leading the performance group will then also become your business coach. We did do that. We made that change a couple years ago, and we did that because there's lots of really good conversations. There's lots of strategy. There's just lots of talk about your business going on, and that can help you most from the corporate standpoint. With most of the things going on in the business would be your business coach. So instead of you having to, okay, do I go to my performance group leader or do I go to my business coach? Who
Yep.
do I ask? Who do I go to? It's just one and the same. So depending on which group you would join, you may have a different business coach at that time.
Hmm.
But you may get lucky and it could be the one you currently have.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we all of us coaches work together really well. So
Mhm.
it's not like we're going to get offended if you reach out to
Sure.
your old coach was or anything like that. But yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I want to back up just a little bit. Who is brand new to Ride at Home and really does not know kind of behind the scenes all of the information and the data and the stats and everything there is to know on your Ride at Home business as a franchisee. So as a brand new franchise owner, if I'm getting ready to, I'm nearing a year of being a franchise owner, I'm thinking about joining a performance group. Can you paint a picture of coach and franchisee and how you stay organized and connected on the health of a franchisee's business? So when you do like a coaching call with a franchise owner, one thing, or just if you can list, the vital things on a franchise owner's business that you track and monitor and, consistently talk about on every coaching call leading up to that 1 year of operations so that someone is ready to join a performance group when the time comes.
Oh, there's a lot that we talk about. That's for sure. So we're very lucky. We have some really good dashboards that are ever improving, and that is both accessed by the owner Um, and the main things we're looking at, hours trends. We're looking at, client caregiver trends. Are you hiring enough? Based off of the number of applicants that you're getting, how's your conversion rate? Kind of the same thing from a client standpoint. Then we'll get into, revenue and profitability, those types of things. And then outside of the dashboards, we look at kind of how your organization is structured. So do you have enough people? Do you have the right people in the right seat? All of those different things. I wouldn't say there's anything different that we're talking about to get somebody ready for a performance group, because as just a business coach, we're talking about profitability of the business. We're talking about trends and growth, and we're just talking about overall structure of the organization. So it doesn't really change when you do get into a performance group. One of the real nice things, while we do have some various benchmarks across what our network looks like, what somebody of the same size is, different things like that, you're going to get a much more in-depth look at other people's business. So you'll be able to compare
Yes.
very specifically to the others in your group. So that's from an analytical standpoint, one of the benefits that you can pull from.
Great. Okay. And so what Daniel is referring to, see, a lot of these questions, I know the answer. I just want you to answer it. So what Daniel is referring to is this dashboard called Right Focus. So it's not just like a bunch of different websites that you have to go to as a franchise owner and check this software and check this metric and go here and do this and do that. It's all in one spot. It pulls from multiple areas. So you have one central dashboard that shows all of the key components of your business, similar to a dashboard, on a car, right? So we just updated our Right Focus dashboard. So maybe can you highlight a couple of the updates that we made to that, some key improvements that we made based off of franchisee feedback to make things a little bit easier for our franchise owners?
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest update and change is the benchmarking piece that I had mentioned. So we've had some benchmarking data, but not like this. We're looking at, I don't know, 15 to 20 different metrics now that we have benchmarks for. So you can compare yourself to the rest of the network. You can compare yourself to the region that you're in, or like I had said earlier, revenue range or age of business. The second thing that is a little bit newer, while we've always kind of had the focus, we haven't really shown the focus like this, is individual territory performance. So for our multi-territory owners, we're looking at each territory as its own business, because that's an asset. Each of those are individual assets that you would own. And so you want to make sure each of them are performing and being maximized to the potential that it can be.
Yes. Okay. And there is a reason. I realize we are here to talk about performance groups, and there's a reason why I brought up the Right Focus dashboard is because that tool is going to be an incredibly useful tool as you prep for your next performance group meeting. So remember the homework that we talked about earlier, that there's a lot of information that you have to pull together to submit to your performance group facilitator prior to that meeting. And that Right Focus dashboard is going to be incredibly helpful for you as you gather that information and kind of, gauge where your business stands before you attend your next performance group meeting. Okay, so as a new franchise owner, Daniel, why would I join a performance group? I realize I'm asking this question at the very end. We've got 5 minutes to go, and I probably should have asked this question in greater detail at the beginning of the call. But I just want the people who are listening to this performance group meeting will be for me once I've been in business for a year, or maybe I should wait a little bit. So why would somebody who is a year into the business, why would you want to be part of a performance group? Basically, what is the difference between someone who is in a performance group versus a franchise owner who elects to not be in a performance group?
So the reason to join, kind of as I touched on a little bit earlier, access to the other owners and their brains, their mistakes that they've made. So
Hmm.
you don't have to make them, for
Good
one.
point.
They can also help if you come in with a bright idea and this is working really well. You also have, potentially not help you take that idea to the next level as well, because they may have tried something similar and they found parts of what you're presenting worked and parts of it didn't, and so they can help kind of guide you down an even better path with it. The other piece is just looking, since we now have the benchmarking stuff, I did pull a couple numbers, and those that are in from an individual territory standpoint, those that are in a performance group tend to do roughly 15% more hours per week and do about 20% more revenue per week. So you're going to have a bigger, better business. And then on the other end of that scale, because our focus is owner discretionary profit, net income, profitability of the business, we're talking about those different things with people. I've got groups that former CPAs, former financial analysts, people who have, bought and sold numerous businesses, all of those things. So you're also getting a group of people that are looking at your business from an actual profitability health standpoint.
Hmm.
So making sure you're not just growing for growth, but that you're also stable in your growth so you can have a long lasting business as well.
Yes. And one thing I do want to add to that, Daniel, and thank you for that. Those are great statistics. One thing I do want to add to that is when you're part of a performance group, obviously you have your business performance coach who assists you with you running your business, and everyone here at corporate headquarters. We've got 110 plus people here to help you and support you in your business. You also have your performance facilitator who most of the time or sometimes is also your coach, but you build these long-standing relationships and friendships that are ongoing with your fellow franchise owners in your performance group. So it's not like you just meet once a quarter. Like you meet once a quarter and then you go back home to your location, and then you find yourself calling your fellow franchise owners that are part of your performance group with questions or feedback. Of course, you're going to do that with your neighboring franchise owners that are your contiguous neighbors around you or state neighbors. But you build really deep connections with the franchise owners that are part of your group that will help you and assist you with your business as you own it and operate it. So it's just additional relationships that you build that are incredibly valuable. Of course, everyone here at corporate is here to help you and support you in your business. But it's a different perspective coming from a fellow franchise owner when you're having a burning issue and you reach out to Daniel and he says, hey, here's a recommendation. Why don't you call some of your fellow franchise owners from your performance group, and maybe they can offer a different perspective. So there's so many benefits of joining a performance group, and I wanted to make sure to call out that one specifically because having those relationships with fellow franchise owners is incredibly valuable, and that's certainly the case when you're part of a performance group. Okay, so we just have a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you want to add, Daniel, that we haven't talked about yet?
Um, no, I don't think so. To tag on to what you were just saying, though, just some real world examples of that support that you get from each other. I've had owners that have traveled out to other performance group members' offices to learn their processes. I've had, like, they hired a new director of operations or something like that. Well, they sent their director to another group member's office to work with and shadow to see how that office is doing things and kind of learn the ropes a little bit better. I've had one where, it was a husband and wife owner. The wife was not able to do payroll for a couple weeks. And so one of the other members was like, hey, we're using the same system. We can absolutely help you out. And, it just, the support that you get is absolutely huge. And then I've got a couple others that, you had mentioned the friends piece and lifelong friends. they're from opposite ends of the country and they go on family vacations together now, and they had never would have met each other if it wasn't for the performance group. So
Awesome.
it's just the support and the growth and everything that comes along with it.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate you, and I know that our listeners do as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. Until next time, have a great day.